Good evening. The Philippines is calling on China to withdraw its monster ship from the Philippines exclusive economic zone. In a press conference on Tuesday, January 14, a National Task Force West Philippine Sea spokesperson Jonathan Malaya says it was alarming how the patrols of China Coast Guard 5901, dubbed the Monster, is getting closer to the Philippine shore.
The monster ship is not close to Bajo de Masinto. It's getting closer also to the Philippines, to the Philippine coastline. The National Maritime Council already called for the withdrawal of this monster ship from Philippine waters, no?
The Philippine Coast Guard says the monster ship was last spotted about 77 nautical miles west of Capones Island in Zambales province. According to Malaya, the Philippine government deems the monster ship's deployment as a provocative act and an intimidation tactic by China to discourage Filipino fishing. PCG spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Commodore J. Tariela, says two of the agency's largest ships, BRP Teresa Magbanwa and BRP Gabriela Silang, were deployed to shadow China's monster ship. Tariela says the two PCG ships were deployed to pressure China's monster ship to move further away from the coast of Zambales. According to Tariela, BRP Teresa Magbanwa returned to the China monster ship's location after it was repaired in Bataan due to overheating. Aside from shadowing the monster ship, Malaya says aerial assets from the Armed Forces of the Philippines and the PCG were deployed to monitor China's illegal presence. Beijing claims almost the entire South China Sea, including the West Philippine Sea, but a 2016 arbitral award dismissed China's claim as having no legal basis. President Bongbong Marcos still believes that Vice President Sara Duterte should not be impeached, according to the palace. In a statement on Tuesday, January 14, Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin says the president's position regarding impeachment moves against Duterte remains unchanged. Marcos previously urged the House of Representatives not to file an impeachment complaint against Duterte, even amid the widening rift between the two leaders. Marcos pointed out that the impeachment moves would not benefit anyone, as there are other issues the government has to address, and called the political feud within his administration a storm in a teacup. The Iglesia ni Cristo on Monday, January 13, held a peace rally in support of Marcos' stance on Duterte's impeachment and called for unity in the country. 3 impeachment complaints against the Vice President were filed before the House over her alleged misuse of funds of the Office of the Vice President and the Department of Education. The impeachment raps also stemmed from Duterte's remark in November last year that she ordered someone to kill the President, First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos, and House Speaker Martin Romualdez should she herself be assassinated. Several House of Representatives lawmakers are actively looking for at least 103 colleagues who will endorse a 4th impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Duterte for it to be fast-tracked. In an interview with reporters on Tuesday, January 14, House Secretary General Reginald Velasco says a group of 12 lawmakers from both the majority and the minority plan to file a 4th complaint that will be endorsed by over 1/3 of all House members. Under the 1987 Constitution, there are 2 ways an impeachment complaint can move forward. The first will require a lengthy process involving the deliberation of a verified complaint by the proper committees, which eventually results in a voting process involving all House members. A 1/3 vote, which requires 103 members, will ensure that the complaint will be forwarded to the Senate. With concerns that the 19th Congress is out of time, the second method allows the immediate convening of a Senate trial if 1/3 of all House members file the impeachment complaint. According to Velasco, he will give this group of lawmakers, whom he refused to identify, some more time to find endorsers. But if the 4th complaint against Duterte is not yet filed until next week, Velasco says he will be forced to forward the first 3 petitions to the office of Speaker Martin Romualdez. Existing impeachment complaints against Duterte are mostly hinged on the findings of the House Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability, which investigated accusations that her offices misused confidential fund allocations. Vice President Sara Duterte's trust rating saw a 10-point drop, while that of President Bongbong Marcos saw a slight decrease, according to Octa research. Based on findings from Octa Research's Tugon ng Masa survey, Duterte's trust ratings dropped to 49% in the 4th quarter of 2024, which is 10 percentage points lower than the 59% recorded in the 3rd quarter. Likewise, Duterte's performance rating fell to 48% in the 4th quarter, down from 52% in the previous quarter. According to Octa research, this marks the first time both the trust and performance ratings of the Vice President have fallen below the majority threshold. Octa research notes that these figures represent the lowest ratings for Duterte since December 2023 and reflect a continuing downward trend. On the other hand, Marcos holds trust ratings of 65% in the fourth quarter, a slight decrease of 4 percentage points from the 69% recorded in the third quarter. The president's performance ratings also saw a decrease from 66% in the third quarter to 64% in the fourth quarter. Octa research says these figures show the majority of Filipinos continue to trust and are satisfied with the performance of Marcos. The survey was conducted from November 10 to 16, 2024, using face-to-face interviews with 1,200 respondents aged 18 and above. President Bongbong Marcos is ordering the Department of Health to ensure the unhampered delivery of PhilHealth services despite its zero government subsidy in the 2025 budget. During a meeting at the Malacanang Palace on Tuesday, January 14, Marcos tells Health Secretary Ted Herbosa that the lack of government subsidy should not affect the delivery of healthcare services. Marcos then reiterates the administration's commitment to prioritizing social services in the 2025 national budget, focusing on key sectors such as education, health, economic services, infrastructure, and agriculture. PhilHealth was initially allocated a subsidy of around 74 billion pesos, but the Senate reduced it to around 64 billion pesos. The Bicameral Conference Committee then decided to completely cut the allocation. Some lawmakers and health advocates expressed alarm over the Bicam's move, believing the lack of subsidy may deny Filipinos of access to health benefits. Marcos himself defended the Bicam's move, citing the remaining reserve funds of PhilHealth. And these are the stories you need to know today. I'm Neil Mercado. Follow INQUIRER.net on Facebook, X, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. For more stories, visit INQUIRER.net. Good evening.